Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm ready.
Did we let Max know? Or God, all this is gonna be live.
Did you text him?
I'm texting him now.
Okay.
Wait, okay, yeah. Then you start us off while I'm doing that.
Hold on. I will start us off after I post one more thing. Everyone, if there's anyone watching right now, this is all the cool behind the scenes stuff.
This is all the.
This is all the real. This is all real stuff that happens.
Let me. Okay, this is cool. Okay, cool.
Boom. Boom.
Let's go ahead and start this week. We got, gosh, I don't even know what week we're on. 7?
40.
40. This is our 40th week in 2 months.
I mean, if it's 2020 feels like there's been 300 weeks in this year, so why not?
Well, I mean, they were saying that there might be a vaccine for next year, so hopefully that will.
Hopefully, because might right now is not a guarantee. So
I mean, they were saying 94.5% success rate.
Oh, that's promising. Good.
Yeah. Okay.
Good stuff. Okay.
7th week. Real talk. It's just Keegan and I this week. This week we are doing rule books. Not quite everything related to rule books. Well, I think we're going to probably
favorite topic.
I think we're going to kind of keep it to ones we like, ones we don't. I mean, we may talk a little bit, like, we'll try to avoid some of the design discussion portion of it. That could be a whole different talk and video almost, and stuff we're not even doing yet. So
I think a couple of mine might have a little bit of design in the complaints department, but for the most part, it's going to be just the rules themselves.
Yeah. But so wait, you just went and picked up what was that? City of
the Big Shoulders.
City of the Big Shoulders. Did you pick that one up again?
I again? No, this is my first time having it.
No. Like hold it up.
Oh, pick it up literally. Yes.
Jeez.
So it's huge. And I'm happy it's the Kickstarter edition, which I think the only thing different is that it has a sleeve. Whatever,
okay.
But I ended up trading Maracaibo off for it, which I know a lot of people would probably be like, not Maracaibo, but I never played it, and you have a copy of it, so if I want to play it, I'll play it with you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't even really know what this one is.
Well, we need to play it because it takes place in Chicago.
Okay.
And from what I know, it's like a stock game, so really economic based. And it was nominated this year with Heavy Cardboard for like their best game of 2019, which perSPECtive won, which I'm really happy about. But I'm excited to play this one. I think this might. It'd be cool if we could get through all the ones that got nominated this year.
Yeah.
For the past year, because it'd be interesting to see what we think.
Well, I mean, yeah, we still need to do B-roll for PAX, which this weekend it won't be too hard.
No, it won't.
Okay.
Yeah, PAX review coming up soon, everybody.
Probably this coming. Let me think. Yeah, this coming Wednesday.
Cool.
Oh, we had one person live and then it went away.
That's fine. Just keep talking.
Yeah. What? You also said you got a whole bunch of other ones.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did.
Well, I've been trading more, which is nice. I need to thin out the collection again a bit. I'm trying to get rid of some stuff, but nobody wants it. But I got Rajas of the Ganges, which I'm really excited to play. I read the rules.
That one's been on my list for a bit. Like, it's just sitting in my Amazon wish list. And I'm just...
Well, let's play it first before you bite the bullet, but I think it's going to be good. It has tile laying in it, which you love. And then I got Tawantin Suyu, which I sat down and did the rules on and Jesus, like my brain.
Yeah, right?
It's a lot.
It is a lot. Max had to, like, he was talking about it before, he had to stand up and actually, like, walk away from the table because it was so much.
I can see that just from looking at the rules of this game. I feel like I'm gonna like it. I think it's gonna be. I have a feeling right now it's gonna be my favorite out of the T series games so far that I've played.
Quite possibly, yeah. I think you will really like it. I can't decide if I like Teotihuacan or Tawantinsuyu more.
Okay.
Haven't played Takanu yet, but
we need to play it. I think that one's probably the easiest one to understand out of all of them. Just like reading the rules, it's very straightforward.
Yeah.
Rules wise, it's straightforward. There's not a lot of like weird stuff. It's mostly just like a lot of planning, which you'll like because you like doing all the strategic stuff.
Yeah.
And then got Whistle Mountain, which I'm really curious to watch you play because you are way more of a strategy versus tactics person, and this game is almost 100% going to be tactics because everything changes every turn.
Okay.
Depending on where someone places their airships and what combos you're trying to get off, so it could totally ruin your plan. That looks great. And then I got Glasgow, which is just a small 2-player game. But
what is that one about?
Glasgow.
Okay.
2-player game where it's the board is just tiles and there's 4 architects and then but some different action spaces, and there's buildings you can build that are above the architects, and on your turn, and everything's in a circle, so on your turn you move your piece to whatever spot you want. It's just you have to go clockwise, and it's like it's like Glenmore where whoever's behind gets to go next. So if someone jumps like 8 places ahead, technically the person behind could take 8 turns if they wanted, because they have to go one space at a time. But you're getting resources and buildings and factories in the middle of the table. And when you put a factory down, it triggers the factories around it. So it's a little bit like Ginkgopolis that way. And then the game's over when a 5x4 grid of buildings is made, and whoever has the most points wins. So small, quick game. Okay, well, looks another 3 to go. We got several 3-2-1s now to do. So I mean that'll be good. I don't remember if I texted you, but we talked on the phone. I just got in the mail today the Oceania expansion. So excited.
Get ready for a review on that. It looks really cool. I was kind of like looking over some of the cards, and it's interesting because the new player boards in it actually look a little bit different. So it's it's more than just kind of like the nectar and like the stuff that they add to it. The artwork is a little bit different too. They go with a little bit this like watercolor like splash. So
I mean, spoiler alert, the 3 of us really, really like Wingspan. So I'm sure that this review is going to be very positive. But really excited for that.
But unfortunately, the wooden nectar pieces that I ordered from MeepleSource won't be ready until February. So we got to play with really nice wooden other resources and then the cardboard nectar.
What an unfortunate thing.
So that's that. But
cool. Did you get anything else this week? Or anything you're excited about?
Well, I mean, excited for Rococo. With that coming out soon.
I'm so ready. I've had tracking since the 29th of October. And it just hasn't moved, and I can't wait for it to start moving.
I don't even know that I've had tracking yet. Maybe I have. I can't remember.
Yeah, just go look if you have a UPS account, you can go in and look.
But I guess we should actually, we got a viewer. Feel free to join us in the chat. Let us know if the audio is in sync, because apparently that can happen, that they're not quite in sync.
Also, we're talking about Rulebook, so if you have any Rulebook things you want to talk about, throw that in the chat too.
I'm also really excited to play more Viscounts. I really like the first play. I want to play it again so we can actually do a review on it, a proper one.
I want to play it in general, so
it's really interesting. It's quite different than just your paladins and architects, where
Good.
you can kind of see architects and paladins some similarities, but the Viscounts is quite a bit different. It's interesting.
So Viscounts has a rondel in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, well, your Viscount is moving around
Okay.
in a rondel sort of fashion, yeah, but
Cool.
you're determining their movement based on the cards that you're kind of laying down in front of you, similar to paladins, where you're playing down a paladin for that round. And something similar is going to happen to that, but that determines how far the Viscount can go.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, Max is calling me.
I mean,
This is going to be interesting. Yes, sir.
you're gonna.
Yeah. You watch us, okay? We're live right now. Okay. Let us know if the audio is synced up. Okay, cool.
Hi, Max.
Keegan says hi, and we're gonna get back to our chats. Bye. Max is not thrilled that he's not live with us.
The next one. I mean, we're just testing this though too.
Yeah,
This
this
just
is our
more of like a
first test. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is our first test, Max. Especially when we go live on Sunday, the 22nd in the morning. We will be trying to play Kanban EV, the new one, a live playthrough.
For Ryan's birthday.
For my birthday, that's right. And Gnarly Carly is joining us for that.
Awesome.
So stay tuned for that, guys. Anything else? Anything of note in the board game world you've come across?
Our recent post about root content.
Yes.
Holy
Oh my
shit!
gosh.
I'm so excited. Turtles, rats, a big rat. Apparently, also, I didn't put this in the post, but they're trying, at least with what they're testing right now, from what Patrick said, is they're trying to do it where the rat leader, which is going to be a pawn that controls the warriors in a way, that you could also use that as a vagabond, and you could use the vagabonds also as the leader of the rat colony, which is really cool. They also mentioned making mini tuck box expansion.
Yep, I saw that. That seems really cool.
Which it sounds like it's more going to be like if you play the Halloween scenario where there's like a piece on the board everyone can fight for. It sounds like it's going to be more like that, where like if you're at a 3-player count, add 2 of the tuck box expansions in, and it's going to be like a neutral faction that someone can somehow control and then also use on their turn. As a it keeps switching sides, which is kind of cool. That there's going to be like a mercenary faction everyone can fight for.
Okay. Hang on. Apparently, they can't hear your audio
at all.
I don't know.
I can try to turn my mic up.
No, it could just be the way that this might not be reading it. I don't know.
Well, this will be a very awkward one-sided conversation.
I know, I'm just talking to myself.
I can go live on my Instagram, and you have to have both pulled up at the same time.
Let me see. I don't know if this is going to... How about now, Max? Oh gosh.
Yeah, both pulled up at the same time. Oh, I just went into our. I just went into ours. Yeah, I could hear it. I could hear me on. Yeah, I could hear it. At least you did something on there that made my voice come through. I'm watching it again to see what happens.
You can hear him now. It might have been because you're not on the track 1, just because I put him on track 1 and track 2 so that when I'm actually editing, they're on separate tracks. So great, now we're going to be on the same track and we're recording. Hello.
Well, something that we know now for Sunday.
Yes.
But yeah, and then Fort expansion, and then also Void Lich. which for expansion, apparently you can email Cole right now this week and ask to be a playtester if you want. And then Void Lich in 3 months, you can email them asking if you want to be a playtester for Void Lich.
We should do that for our channel.
I'm down with that, for sure.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to do rulebooks now?
Oh, are you excited to get into the rulebooks now?
Yes, because I am a big nerd that will read rulebooks for fun.
Yes, I mean, so will Max. So it's too. It's really we picked this topic, and Max reads a lot of rules and goes through them too. So
I think it's also just because like Max and I both really, really like teaching games to people, which I think is another reason why I try to soak in as many rule books as I can, so I can be like, hey, don't read the rule book. We'll just learn it together the day of.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Let's get into these rule books. So we kind of just each. I don't know, what did you pick? 3 you liked, 3 you didn't?
Yeah, I got a little bit more than 3 on each side, but one's more of like an honorable mention, and the 3 on the other side are just I'll figure out which 3 I want to pick while we're talking.
Okay. Okay. Well, do you want to start with one you really like?
Yeah, I'll do my honorable mention really quick and then go into one I really like. Honorable mention is Fog of Love, because you don't even need to read the rule book to play the game, which I know is kind of like we're talking about rule books, but the game has a built-in system to teach you the game while you play it your first time. And even if you go to the rule book, which I guess this is the cool part about the rule book, it says don't read this book. it tells you how to. I think it tells you how to do the setup. Maybe even the deck of cards tells you how to do the setup in general. Okay. But you set the game up, and then right when you start playing, the game's like, flip the next card and do these things. Yeah. These are your options. Like you can just sit down and play it, and it's great. So that's the honorable mention, just because you don't have to read the rule book. But for my first good rule book, I think this rule book is amazing. It's probably the best one I've ever read, but I got rid of the game because I didn't like the game that much. Okay. And it's Cooper Island. Yeah. Cooper Island's rulebook was fantastic. It is the best rulebook I've read. It's so clean. It goes through every section very, very well. It doesn't feel like a dense slog to get through. It gives you examples. It's perfect. I just didn't like the game that much.
That's fair. I actually should have grabbed it knowing you were going to pick it. Because I can't really remember that rulebook.
It just has really nice. It almost does like what Eggert Spiel does with a lot of their rule books, where they have like colored sections on like this section is this, and there's a semi-colored section underneath that's the examples. And like Cooper Island does that super, super well. And everything's really clear. I'm also a person that I'm really easy at finding like typos and issues in rule books, just like commas being wrong places or words are spelled wrong. Like for some reason I just spot that stuff immediately. Maybe it's because I worked at a publishing company for a bit. Yeah. But from what I remember, Cooper Island's rule book was perfect in regards to that. I just really, really wish I liked the game more. I just felt like you couldn't. By the time you felt like you got something going, the game was over. And I like feeling limited in games, but that game felt super limited to me, that I felt like I wasn't doing anything. Okay.
And so how did they? So when you said they broke it down to each section, what was it doing exactly that you really loved?
This would be so much easier to think about if I had the rulebook in front of me.
Do I want to like step away real quick and grab it?
No, that's fine. It had every action like it breaks in like a normal rule book where it has like your phases, and it tells you like this phase, this is what happens, this phase, this is what happens. But just the way that, especially the worker placement phase, the action phase, the way they had every action broken out in the rule book, saying like how it works, this is how you use it. Yeah. Here's an example of what it looks like when you use it. I think it just was super clear. Like I feel like a lot of rules can make things really convoluted, or something can pop up. Either you think about it when you're playing the game, or you're reading the rule book and you're like, yeah, but what about this situation? That might just be like a 1 in a million case. But Cooper Island like identifies all those niche scenarios where it's like, if this happens, then you should do this. Like, Which I think the rulebook was so clear anyway, there shouldn't be any niche weird, like, what if this combination happens? Like, it just broke everything out really, really clearly that it didn't leave me any questions. Like, I could play the game after reading the rulebook once and didn't have to refer back to it at all, which is a really good sign.
Yes, that's a successful rulebook then, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So one of my ones that I really liked was Architects of the West Kingdom. One, it's pretty compact. It's not that large. It's a pretty small rulebook. But the way that they broke down each section, similar to Cooper Island, they do it really good. They have very clear headings and everything, so that you could find it very clear. I know there's other rule books, and I'm trying to actually maybe in some of the other ones here that I have that they don't break it down super clear. Like, just for example, like they have a nice clear heading that you can easily look through and find if you have a question what you're looking for. And then the way they actually break down each section, they're actually using like color coding just for example, just say first time player breaks down worker investment, capturing workers, virtue, and they make that a blue color so you can actually see the title and know what you're looking for right away. And they use the iconography all throughout the rule book here, so you actually know what you're going to be looking at when you're looking at the board, which is really, I think, really good, really helpful. And then it triggers, like, it just like clicks right away when you look at the board. You're not.
That's something I didn't.
Go ahead.
That's something I didn't even think about really. Where it's like, I think we take for granted good iconography in board games, in general. But like, I didn't even think about like a rule book using the iconography throughout the rule book, because I'm getting to the point where I'm really hating rule books that are like, also on the back of the page, here's all the icons you need to know. Like just show them while you're explaining the rule, and then just have that as a quick summary page on the back, not as a also here's everything you need that I didn't talk about already.
Yeah. And then they even like break it down then to in like a purple text, refer to appendix for information on each apprentice's ability. Like, it even just lets you know that, hey, there is this other information for those more like individual, player, the card powers or whatever, to explain that. It's nice that they just at least let you know to go look back there, right?
Yeah.
And that there's actually something there for you that you can kind of just skip over, and you don't have to kind of like think that you might need to find them, or not sure where you're gonna what they're all going to be doing.
Right.
And then their examples are really good because they actually provide the images right alongside the examples, and they give like little notes to players as you're reading of like things that may come up, right, where you're kind of questioning certain situations, but they can kind of help clear it up a little bit. And those are in like even like an italic note on the side too. So yeah, just this overall, the way they keep breaking down each section with the different headings and coloring and iconography throughout, I think it's just a very solid rule book.
Is it fair to say that Paladins and Viscount are just as good for that same reason?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Good stuff, Shem Phillips.
Yes. All right. I'm gonna go to one that I'm gonna talk about one that I didn't particularly care for.
Yeah, do we want to go back and forth?
Yeah.
Like a good and a bad, a good and a bad. Okay.
Yeah. So very contradictory to what Shem was doing there, and everything was this. The Goblin King is angry.
Oh.
They have examples in here, but it just kind of they just have a large paragraph for how movement phase would happen, and so it's hard to actually understand it. They didn't have the only headings are like this goblin phase, movement phase, and you have to try to read through and figure out what's going on. They don't give all the best examples, A lot of things were just like you were saying, that in certain situations you're not quite sure what to do because the rulebook doesn't, like in that paragraph or whatever that they write, it just doesn't really explain it that well. And just looking at it, there's actually just not a lot actually written down. There's like this one sentence paragraph after one sentence paragraph, and it's just like it doesn't feel like a great way to actually
teach a game.
Yeah, disseminate how it actually works that well. And then they have the weird, like they have like the font, right, their game font, but then they bring it into the rule books. That just makes it confusing. Like, it's not part of the rules, but it makes it confusing as it's just like it seems like it'd be part of the rules, but it's not, and it's just like this weird extra text.
That makes me think of the Everdell rulebook, where they do the same thing with the text in the book, but all that stuff is like flavor, like lore, but all that's on an image, where it's like if you're like if there's text like that, it's on a letter, so you know it's a letter from somebody, like character wise. Like that is annoying, where it's just directly under the paragraph on the same background, so you could think it's like a weird italicized, like this is an important rule to remember.
So this one it was kind of difficult to actually understand it. We had to keep referring back to it while we were playing, and even then it was a bit confusing, and so this rulebook was not the best.
That's unfortunate.
Yes. So that's one of my disliked rulebooks.
All right. I have 5 down for bad, and they're all spicy. I feel like some of them you're going to be surprised by that I picked them.
Okay.
Okay, I'll fudge. Yeah, I'll just pick this one because I think I've tried to sit down and read this rulebook I don't know how many times, and I can't get through it. And I also know there's like a living rulebook online, which means rules are changing, and I haven't even bothered looking at the living rulebook because I want to get through the base rulebook one time at least. And every time I sit down to learn this, I just can't do it, and it's Pax Porphyriana. That rulebook is so dense, and there's so much going on, and there's so many cards. And it's just blocks and blocks and blocks of text. And then also there's, being a PAX series game, there's a lot of historical information in there too that's not part of the rules, but it's there just as like flavor, because all the PAX games are based off of, except for Transhumanity because that hasn't happened yet, but it's based off of like history and real things that happened. And it's cool because it puts you in the world, but I don't need a rule book with all that in there. Like Field Arla does it really well because it has a separate book that just tells you about what Arla's like, which is like, people that are history buffs can look in that if they want to and learn more about Arla, but there's people that are just like, I just want to play the game, and they can just ignore that entirely. But PAX is so damn dense. I just can't get through it. Porphyriana, I can't get through it. And I want to learn the game because everyone says it's like up there with like the best PAX games, like that and Renaissance and Pamir 2nd Edition now. Like those are like from what I know, the 3 top PAX games, and I know Transhumanity is supposed to be great too, but damn, it's long. I can't. And there's the like rule books like, sorry, Rambo, I was gonna say one more thing, like the rule books like that, I try to find videos online to learn, because it's just like, I rather like, I'm really like, everyone learns differently, and that's been proven I don't know how many times by studies, and still teachers don't get it, but I learn a lot by visual and then by doing. Like if I listen to someone explain things, I'm not going to remember anything. I need, like, it gives me like a base knowledge, and I got it. If I read it, I get way less knowledge out of that. If I'm physically doing it, it sticks. Like my brain works on physical touch and like tactical things. I get muscle memory on things really quick that way. And PAX Porphyriana doesn't give like enough visual examples and stuff, I don't think. At least for me, my brain cannot deal with all the text.
I'm the same way. Pictures, like the text going along with pictures and clearly outlined in a nice diagram, is much easier for me to pick up and understand. Just reading it most of the time doesn't. And that's why a lot of times I'll just end up going to a video to find to do it. But yeah,
it makes me think of, like, I think more rulebooks should, you don't want to cater to people, but I feel like rulebooks should be more open to catering in a way to how everyone learns. Like, people can just read stuff and get it, and that's what the text is for, but then also have images on the side for the people that need examples of how things work.
Yeah.
And I just thought of the Castles of Burgundy rulebook. I don't remember if the new one's like this, but at least the original one is, where if you played the game before, then on the sidebar there's a yellow panel on every page. It's just a quick one sentence, like, you don't need to read all this. If you play the game before, just read this one sentence to refresh your memory. Like, I think rulebooks should do that more often too, as a, like, in-depth text, visual examples that you can replicate on the board to physically remember it, and then just a quick summary if you play the game before.
Yeah. I think also, like, including, like, these weird situations that would come up, you should try to incorporate that in, if not like in the back of the book, almost like an FAQ sort of situation, right? That you can just be like, these situations, though rare, could possibly come up. Here's how you might actually go about.
It would really shock me if a board game company releases a game and then someone makes a post on BGG about a rule question and they say that never came up in playtesting. That would probably bother me a lot. If a company said this never happened in playtesting, then that to me means they didn't get playtested enough.
Yeah.
Like, a game can't have that. There's no way a game is going to be that open-ended that a one thing is going to happen after you've had however many playtests that it never happened before. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. So, I agree, all those things. And I think obviously, since everything's like online and everything now, I don't know why companies now aren't sort of trying to do more video rulebook explanation. Like, why can't you put in the back of your rule like the QR code, right, that will bring you to the company's
like an official video?
Yeah, like an official video that they do for it. And
shout out to Paul Grogan and Rodney Smith for being the OGs of rule videos. They are the best. Honestly, if both of them just had rule videos for every board game ever made, I would never read a rule book again, because their videos are great. But I know there are only two guys and they can't do all of it. But
yeah,
we need more quality channels like that companies will sponsor for official rule videos. Because
I mean, yeah, even if
great.
they just companies sponsor them to do a nice one. And
yeah,
I mean, hey, I'd do one for our channel if companies wanted to sponsor us to do like a seriously in-depth, really nice rule book video.
Oddbird Games, I want to do Feudum so bad as an official video. I love that game. I would gladly spend a week doing that.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So.
Do you want to start with a good one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let me think. Which one do I want to do first? I mean, a lot of these are going to be the same, like, reasons why I like them.
Yeah.
So much, but I'm just gonna do Yokohama. This one's like the very beginning of actually helping you understand what is the terminology for it, like the actual boards and the makeup of the boards, of like, all right, this down here is pointing to like the rewards icon and saying like, this is rewards, this over here is the faith value, and like, so that you actually understand what do they call that? I don't know why I'm spacing on it, but just the makeup of each of these boards, right? So you actually understand what's going on, some of these iconography right away, right? And it's not just like you're reading into this rulebook and it's giving you some terms here that you're just like, wait, I don't really know what exactly does that mean, or where am I finding this? They kind of break it down for all the pieces, which is really nice. And then just going right into the game setup, they do such a great job of showing you how to do the game setup with pictures of where to place things. It's not just like one of the other ones is just sort of like we'll just go back to architects real quick.
Yeah.
They all like their setup really is just, like most of them it just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it has the description on the side, right? This in Yokohama they actually give you some images of like where things get placed, and like, okay, this card that the 2x3 whatever those cards go on each location. Yeah, and then where all the pieces go on your player board, and it gives a nice graphs on 2 to 4 players, what everyone's going to get, what's going back in the box, and so the whole setup is really well done. It just like Architects, it has really nice. God, I can't talk today. Like the breakdown of the titles, they give you good
like headings.
Yeah, good headings. Max is saying, and John gets games, and Tom for slicker drips.
Yeah, shout out to them too. Also great.
Yep. So yeah, they give really good headings, and then just like Architects, they kind of break down the main phase. They give what I really like is that, so in the main phase section, they kind of give just a quick little 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all your steps, and then it breaks them down, right? So you can easily find where they are. You're like, all right, area action setup is number 3. Let's go to number 3 over here. And then gives really good images along with like explaining it with really clear arrows, and just like they just put an X through it basically, so showing like you can't go this direction. So they just did a really good job there. So yeah, that's why. And then these two, I think Architects does the iconography a little bit better throughout the book, but they still do have the iconography in the book that you get to see throughout, and then it lays out really large all of the different locations, right?
That's one of my favorite parts. That's one of my favorite parts about that rule book is how large it is in the back.
Yeah, it's very clear and very hard to miss or not understand. So, yeah, big props to the makers of Yokohama and whoever designed it.
I really want to play Yokohama again right now.
I do too. I love this.
The game's so good.
It is. Ugh, love it.
We should pick up a copy of Yokohama Duel.
Yeah.
And see how that feels. I mean, because Yokohama base game is already great as a 2-player game anyway. But like, I want to play Duel just to see. Well, want to see how good the rulebook is comparison to the old one. But like, I just want to see also how different that is compared to the full game. Since it's built specifically for 2-player, like what's different?
Yep. Yeah, but
I will hunt that down.
Yokohama is so good, even at 2 players.
It's so good. It is.
God, every player count is fantastic. God, I love this game.
One of those rare games where every player count is good.
Yes. All right. Yeah. What do you got?
Sorry, I was looking up to see. I was looking to see if anyone had Yokohama Duel for trade. Virginia, New York, and California. So we should contact one of them. All right. For my next good rule book, is this dense? It's so dense, but it has everything broken out in a very clean way that helps you understand the game while you play your first game, because you can play your first game while referencing the rule book. It tells you to do it this way, and that's going to be Through the Ages, a new story of civilization.
You can do that one.
You and I both just got into Through the Ages, and we played it. We played like a third of a game our first playthrough, and we're like, this is interesting. And then we played a full game and we got done with it, and we're like, this is great.
Yep.
It's awesome. And you wouldn't think, I'm guessing about the game, but you wouldn't think that the game would be very different because you see every card every game. But the way they come out is what's cool about it. Anyway, the rule book. So in Through the Ages, there's 3 ages, and the rule book tells you, like, hey, do setup first. Don't go on from here. Just do setup. And then it says, okay, let's do the Antiquity Age. This is how the Antiquity Age is going to work. Do this stuff and stop reading. Like, just do this stuff first. Cool, you're done. Let's go to Age 1. Let's explain how switching to Age 1 is going to work, what you have to do, what you have to do to the board, what the players have to do. Now, let's talk through what your turn is going to be. Here's your options. Now, both of you take your first turn only and stop reading. You both take your first turn. Now, here's the rest of the stuff you can do. Now, keep playing until you get to Age 2 and then stop. So it legit just gives you a play-by-play of, like, do this stuff. Don't worry about anything else. This tells you everything that's going to come into play. Now stop doing it. Mm-hmm. And then the game, I think, tells you to end at when Age 2 would end and go into Age 3. You should stop as your first game. And then after you do that, then it tells you, like, now read Age 3 if you want to do that for your next game. But it's just super clean. Like, you look at the rulebook, you're like, holy shit, there's so much text in this. But it legit is just like a play-by-play guide. Mm-hmm. And it almost feels video game-ish in the rules, where, like, quality video games, in my opinion, don't give you a big-ass, here's your controller map, here's what every button does. I hate that shit so much. And I also hate the whole, like, you get to an area that says, tap this button to do this, and that's how you work here. Quality video games give you a new element in an area in an isolated situation that makes you figure out how to get through that situation on your own. Mm-hmm. Then the next area makes it slightly harder using that new element you just learned. Yeah. Then the next area, it incorporates that element with everything else you've already learned, so you have to combine it together to get through it on your own. Mm-hmm. And Through the Ages does that because every era adds something new in. Hmm. And it tells you, like, don't worry about any of this other stuff because you're not going to see it yet. Just read this. Yep. Oh, you're in era 2. Here's the new stuff that might pop up, and here's how it works. Mm-hmm. It's great. It's so good.
That is a very interesting way to actually, like, lay out a rule book, and I'm wondering that, like, if more games could actually could implement it in that way. It may be for a very specific type of game where you do that.
It'd be very hard to do it in a game where you get all your options up front. Mm-hmm. Or, like, Through the Ages, since it incorporates new elements depending on what age you're in, like, it works perfectly for that system. Mm-hmm. But with a game like Yokohama, for example, like, it's open information for the most part. Like, you know everything on the board, you know what you can do from the get-go. Every option is available. Yeah. I think games that are like Through the Ages, where there's, like, a new element every like act of the gameplay, mm-hmm. should incorporate rulebooks like that more, because it makes it way easier to understand. Like, can you imagine going through that rulebook, just, like, reading it all up front and being like, cool, now let's play. What the fuck was a war? How does that work? Oh, an aggression? Wait, there's no aggressions in the first 2 ages. How does those even work now? I don't care anymore. Like, it just does it perfectly.
Yeah. Because all that stuff from the Age 2 and 3, you just kind of, like, you just start reading, like, you start, like, remembering that, but then you forget some of the stuff from the very beginning, the most crucial stuff that you needed to just start playing, and you're like, well, damn it, now I gotta reread this damn thing because I just spent 10 minutes reading about Era 3 that I don't need right away.
Yeah. And I know with 2-player, there's the treaty cards are taken out entirely because it would make sense to do a treaty with your only opponent. Like, there's no point. But I think in the rules too, it says if you were learning this game with more than 2 players, to also take the treaties out anyway. Mm-hmm. Just don't worry about it, to make it easier on yourself, which I think is also great. And so, like, the rule book then doesn't even reference treaties at all until it gets to, like, Era 3, where it's like, if you got to this point and you want to know more and play the full game, now do this on your own. Like, mm-hmm. It doesn't dump the info in there for you just to read and then forget about.
Sure. Yeah.
Solid rulebook, CGE. Good stuff.
Good work. Do you want to give your next
a bad one?
Bad one.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I think this one's kind of obvious, so I'll do it. Trismegistus. Okay. I think is a poor rule book. I think the player aids are even worse.
That's good.
I think player age should be another conversation we have at some point, because I think that fits in with the rulebook idea pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But Trismegistus is just, that rulebook is a slog, and I'm pretty sure it's translated too, so I know there's probably some translation into English issues. Mm-hmm. But there's some stuff in that book that just doesn't make sense. Like, I remember you and we did our first play. I think we went to BGG 5 times at least to find questions and answers to questions. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like we were the only ones thinking about these, because there was already a forum for those questions, like those specific ones. So like everyone was having the similar issue. Mm-hmm. And then I think just on top of that, just the design is weird. Like apparently that was an editor issue, I think, or a designer issue, where the black cards go in the yellow slot, but every other card matches with their color. Yeah. It's like, who thought that was fine? Like, I think Trismegistus is a game that needs a second edition strictly to fix the problems the base game has, because the game itself is great. The game itself is awesome. Like, you feel like a genius when you pull a combo off. Yeah, it's really satisfying. But man, reading the rule book, if I wouldn't have learned this game watching a rules video online first before you and I would have played it, and I just would have learned it from the rule book, I probably just would have sold the game and not even bothered trying it.
Oh, jeez.
Because it was too much to get through. I could not get through that rule book.
Mm-hmm. And we're gonna have to review that game for our
I'm excited for Team Month. Yeah, I'm excited to review it because I love that game, but that book is that needs some heavy. No, that needs some heavy work. That needs some Paul Grogan work on it. Like, it's not a big fan.
All right. Well, do better. Who did that one?
Board and Dice?
Yeah. Which is weird because I have one of my good ones is a Board and Dice one.
I mean, they're not all going to be bad. Just that one specifically is bad.
So my next one that's not so great, I've always struggled with, is the Root rulebook. There's so much in there because you have to go. There has to be, because there's so many factions. Understanding and trying to find where certain movement restrictions come into play and how they affect other faction, like each faction properly, is very confusing and a little bit difficult to understand and help teach someone for a first time. Especially if you haven't played every faction and you're trying to just go through the rulebook and trying to figure out what's going on. There's no images in here to help understand. Like, this game really needs the examples and images to really like hammer home how these factions work.
Yeah, the law of root's real dense.
Yeah, and it just sometimes it makes it like there's no, like, other than just the larger print, like font, that's the only heading differentiation that they have. And then it's just 7.1, 7.2, 7.4. It's hard to then find it really quick what you're trying to look for. And here is difficult. Then iconography doesn't pop up enough in the rule book, or if it's just very small, it just kind of feels a little confusing.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they have so you have the rule book, but then you have a whole other one for like a first time play, or that other small like learn to play book. And you're like, why couldn't all that just simply be in your one main rule book? Why does there need, like, clearly something's not working here with this main one if you need a whole separate little booklet of learn to play, because that's what a rule book is a learn to play. Why?
And just to like throw this out there too, you and I both love Root. Like,
I love
Root's my number one game. Mm-hmm. But I think Root does have rulebook issues, and that's coming from me. I've taught this game upwards of 10 times. to people who've never played it.
Yeah.
And like I've played this enough that the rules are kind of just like in my blood at this point. Like I don't need to look at the book anymore. But I think even Root had an issue with something I brought up before, which is not enough playtesting, and that might have just been also because I mean it didn't have the base it has now. Like people want to play test Root. They're asking for new factions constantly, and they're like, we'll play test to get them out quicker. Like we want them. Like it's everyone wants them really bad, but like
I want to play test turtles.
I want to play test rats, and like, but you can just tell like there was a balance issue too with that game, with like the Wooden Alliance being really overpowered. The lizards are really bad. Like it's one of those weird like. It didn't get. I don't think it got play tested enough, and I don't think they had enough eyes on the rule book. They should have like a good test. I feel for games. I think Paul Grogan talks about this too. Is you should be able to read a rule book once and then play the game. Use the rule book to reference things. Yeah, obviously that's what it's there for. But Root is not a you can read the rule book once and then play it game. It is not.
And there's a lot of times that I play with like new people teaching just any game really, and they want to say, oh, can I see the rule book? Because they want to try to understand something better, right? If it wasn't explained properly, you hand them this rule book, they're gonna have no idea where they're going, what they're trying to find. No, just like
I do think the Law of Root does a really good job with the faction specific sections, where it's like this is your setup, this is how your daylight works. Like if you have a question about daylight actions, here's a daylight section. But I agree that they should have had some visual examples for things.
Mm-hmm. This game particular almost feels like it should have been accompanied by some kind of grand video, right? To help, like with every faction, to really go through some different scenarios of how they move around, or what, like how this area is working exactly, and like that if you put this card down, you could turmoil, and like that actually means all this goes away. This is kind of how they have to move to and from. They can only move to and from this certain clearing and show it through a video. So it's definitely one that really, like, almost feels like, hey, take the time with this next expansion, just put like, I don't know, 5-minute video out for each faction, simply just to go through what they do.
Let's do it. How about we just do it?
Yeah.
And like there should be a video too that's just like an overall, like these are the rules everyone has to follow. Mm-hmm. In general, I mean, it's not obviously not everyone has to follow, because like the Court of Conspiracy doesn't follow movement rules, but I mean that's something you learn when you learn your faction. Yeah. Just like get the base rules down first and then learn your specifics. Yeah.
I agree. Almost feels like that, and Vast needs that too.
I think Vast needs it more.
Yes, most definitely needs a strong independent faction videos.
I like Root. I have no problem getting new people and teaching them, like sitting at the table and teaching them for their first time. I don't mind. Like I probably just because I love that game so much. But Vast, I would never play with new people. I would tell anyone, be like, you want to do a Vast group? Cool. Here's your assigned character. You learn the rules before you show up.
That's Root, the first time we played it.
Like Root, I wouldn't mind so much. Like, yeah, we can do this really quick. Your first turn, I'll just walk through your character with you for your first turn. But Vast, I would never teach that in a new setting at all. I will never do that.
No. So, better rulebook, please.
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 I'll pay for it. I'll pay for better rulebook.
Please, baby.
Oh no, don't.
Please, Daddy.
No.
Daddy Cole.
This
got weird. All right.
This got weird.
All right. You want to go with your last good one?
You want to do last good one first or last bad one first?
Let's do last bad one.
Okay.
Do your bad one.
Boy. So this was hard because it's between two things that I really, really like. And I'm going to go with the one I like more.
Okay.
I don't like saying this, but I really am not the biggest Feudum rulebook fan. Which also, again, caveat, Feudum is in my top 5 favorite games.
Yeah.
I love Feudum, and it's also one of those games where I've read the rules enough. I've written my own cheat sheet rule book that at this point the rules are in my bones. Like I just know how to play this game at this point. And another game I don't mind teaching. Prepare for an hour-long teach though. But the rule book, there's a lot. Like Feudum gets a lot of flack for being fiddly. Which I don't fully agree that it's a fiddly game. I agree that there's a lot happening in the game. Some people say it needs to be streamlined. I think it's a perfect mess as it is. It wouldn't be Feudum if it was streamlined. Yeah. But there's a lot of smaller rules, specifically thinking about the ferry boats that are mentioned once in the rule book and then not brought up again. And it's like, of course, you're not going to remember that the ferry boats are an option when there's no vehicles on the alchemist board. Like no one's going to remember that. Yeah. Especially because the map, all the symbols are tiny. Yeah. Like Feudum has a lot of issues with it, more so than just the rule book. But I think the game is great. I think Feudum is one of those rule books that really could have benefited from a section or like pop-ups in the rule book that are like, and don't forget
rule book.
That'd be amazing. But a like little like what Uwe does with his games, where he has like he has a caricature of himself in theme of the game with a speech bubble. Like, don't forget this happens. Like having something like that in the Feudum rule book would be really helpful. Like the ferry boat thing, for example, and then when you talk about movement, talk about it in there, like, and don't forget the ferry boats are an option with your movement as well. Yeah. And just in like talking about when the alchemist builds ships or when you buy ships from the alchemist, don't forget the ferry boats are a thing. If all the things are gone, like just some pop-up sections that just like really hit home these small rules that are easy to forget. Like even the monetary system. Don't forget to pay out the master and the apprentice. Don't forget to pay them out, and don't forget to put the third one across the board in the coffers. Don't forget to do that, like because it changes the game if you forget to do that. Don't forget that your farms can only hold 10 crops, but if you're at 9, you can go above 10. Like it's small things like that need a pop out section that is like, or like I can't think of a rule book right now off the top of my head, but there's a thing that's like easily forgotten rules page. Oh yeah, it's just a quick page of like, here's things that will be easily forgotten. Just don't forget about them. It would also be different too if the player aids had all this information on it, but the player aids are really dense as it is. The player aid for Feudum is a grid, like just for all the actions for the guilds, not to let alone what your cards do besides the guild card. Like, the guild itself is 18 actions. Like the player aid, I needed to be a full page player aid in my opinion, not a condensed half sheet. Yeah. It needs to have all these small details on there just so you can play the game and not feel like you're forgetting a million things. Because this game is a really easy, you can AP because you're thinking about the game, but you can AP because you're like, I totally forgot a rule here and it's bothering the shit out of me. I can't think of what it is. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah.
And I mean, we were trying to do a monthly play of that too, back so we wouldn't forget the rules for that.
Yeah, Feudum was on my 10 by 10 for this year, and then COVID happened, so that wasn't going to be a thing.
Shut that down.
Yeah, and then I taught Feudum to the guys at Quackalope on Tabletopia. And one, it was great teaching rules to another group that's also super into gaming, because this is a game, if you teach this to non-gamers, they would easily just like fog over and be like, I'm done. Yeah. But it was really like checking in, being like, are you guys good? Like, yeah, we're just listening, keep going. Even when they were done with the first rules, they were both like, this is a lot. Jesse really liked it. Jan, I don't think was as big of a fan, but both of them were saying like, there's a lot of rules here. Like, they both said like this game needs a cheat sheet for rules. Like it's a lot. Yeah. And the book doesn't give you good visual examples either. It just made me think of that too.
Come on, people. Especially these large games. They need pictures. Yeah. You need images.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So my last one, and one that I have not played this game yet, because I can't even figure out how to fucking play.
Great.
This fucking rulebook.
Hey, another PAX game.
This
What a surprise.
transhumanity. Holy shit, man. There's images in here, but they're very small and not... Oh my god, the problem is they just throw terms at you left and right. And you're like, I don't understand where these things are coming in. This is... Oh god, this is so confusing on how to understand everything. Like, just the that's what I was trying to think of that word before. Anatomy of the spaces. The anatomy, the white heat square, the surge, the impacts, the discipline color, the ability, the black heat square. Like, you're like, wow, okay, this is a lot. And then you just go and you go, surge arrows. This triple arrow gives 1 bonus syndicate when you syndicate its card. Like, and then there's a whole, like, a glossary that they have to define all the terms at the back of the rule book for all these terms. And then a Rosetta Stone so you can translate it all. Like, this, I can't tell you how many... I've read this multiple times. I've watched several videos. And I still don't fully understand this goddamn game.
I'm glad it's consistent between the PAX games. I guess we'll find out in a couple months if it's the same situation with the new PAX Renaissance and PAX Vikings, since I'm getting those in.
I hope they are easier to understand. Because holy crap, well, we need to find a way to understand it and play this, because it looks interesting, but god damn,
and it's another one of the ones that got nominated this year for the Heavy Cardboard Award, too, so we have to play it because of that.
Transhumanity did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Well... All right, we got to find out how to play. Right, I'm leaving it to you to figure out how to play.
I'll figure it out.
Not figure this out.
If you let me borrow the game, I'll sit down with it and try to learn it.
All right.
Okay. I'll get it from you at some point.
That rulebook frustrates me so much.
What's your feeling on glossaries in general, then, since you brought it up? In rulebooks.
I mean, glossary, as in like it explains like Yokohama, that it actually breaks down what each card does. That's fine, right? Because you're not going to write that in the rule book. But glossaries, when you have to like literally define all the terms, it just puts me off from this so much. Because I'm like, I'm just spending so much time with this rule book, and now I just need to decipher all this. Like, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of glossary to define all these different terms. And even them defining it is not super clear as to how this works in this game.
Yeah.
So, very frustrated with this one.
I'm the same thing with I like a glossary for like game terms, because it definitely puts more of the theme in the game and puts you in the space of the game. But I only like the glossary if the rule book beforehand tells you what the words mean while you're learning the rules, not just like what it sounds like that one does, where it's just like, syndicate, you better know what the syndicate means in terms of this. Like, I don't want a dictionary of the book. I want the glossary as a reminder of like, oh yeah, this is what this means.
Apparently Max just keeps texting me instead of commenting in the comments.
Goober.
He said Feast for Odin has a great appendix rulebooks for all its cards and great reference numbers on all of them.
I think that's just in general for Uwe's games. Like, Uwe does a good job with all of that.
Yeah.
But his games are also really dense. All right. Are we on our last good ones now?
We're on our last good ones.
Okay.
Mine isn't like a top one. It's just another good. I don't know that I put mine on a tier list. Just. But.
Did you want to do yours then? You want me to do mine?
I'll do mine.
Okay.
Wise work. Okay. Well, this game, I think the size of this game, like for how much it is, does a really good job. fantastic work on board and dices.
Yeah.
Here, Teotihuacan. There's quite a bit. This is a pretty big, like, it's a heavy game. But they do such a fantastic job with iconography, examples. They actually, like, and they make the examples extremely clear because, right, they put them in a box of a different color. They show how these dice get worked on and then show you how much cocoa you're spending, blah, 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 whatever you need to do for that thing. And then, like, it'll actually break down a whole thing of section of, like, just unlocking your dice, right? So they make it very clear on when they go through a section of what's going to be happening. Player setup is really good. They don't just do one large board. They actually kind of do what was the one that Yokohama, where they actually break it down into sections and give you little I'm not gonna be able to see it, but arrows and stuff of, like, these tiles you'll place actually over here. We're gonna zoom in here on the temple track here so you can set this up. Yeah, so the player setup is fantastic. I would say, well, no, even, I mean, the way they break down some of the main actions, right? They accompany them with the numbers of that location, so you can easily find it quickly. Examples are nice and big. They do really good pictures with the temple, like the actual temple itself, building up the temple and understanding the decorations. They even in the examples, they don't even just kind of like put an arrow. They put an arrow and put like a pink spot of where let's just say you're going to be doing it at. So it's like it's super clear. Like you can't miss what's happening here. So, and then it has a really good appendix here of describing all the technology tiles, the discovery tiles, and just explaining what they are and what they do. So for how big this game is, this rulebook lays it out really well. You definitely can, I mean, it may need 2 reads simply because it is so much. And then you like, just after you read it, you go, okay, wait, remembering certain parts of it, but once or twice you can pretty much understand, then go back and find anything you may need pretty quickly.
I think the main thing like that I would refer back to in the rule book too, which I think the board even helps with, is the eclipse phase, like what gets removed from the board, what goes back to a starting position after an eclipse, because certain things move and certain things don't. I think that's like the main thing I remember referring to the rule book for. But yeah, you're right, the rule book's great. Like, it teaches you how to play the game really quickly. And clearly, which is the best part.
The thing that you're looking for in a rulebook?
Yeah, a clear rulebook, not a muddy pile of pudding.
Yeah. Ones that don't give me nice pictures. I want pictures.
Give me more pictures.
I'm a child.
I'm a child. Give me a picture book. More milkies, please, and a cookie. More milkies.
He's daddy. Okay.
Oh, no more daddy. All right. My last rule book for my good ones is a game I still want to play with you. And it's in my top 10 games.
Okay. Do I wait?
You want to guess it? I brought this up with you a couple times.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that you already talked about the one that you really loved, but your top 10.
I was wanting to play with you online.
Oh, I can't remember. Okay.
Russian Railroads.
Oh, right.
Russian Railroads has a fantastic rulebook for all the reasons we already talked about. Like, it shows a really clear game setup, shows a really clear player setup, and it's very clear on how every action works and what you're going to do on your turn, because it shows you, like, it has everything like colored sectioned off again too. Like every section's a different color depending on the action, and it shows you how the action works, what you're going to do, and it gives you a nice quick example of what it is. And scoring in this game can get really confusing, I think, for people that aren't used to the game, because you score you have 3 lines of track that you can build. Mm-hmm. But each line of track, you have 4. Not each line, I guess. There's 4 different lines you can build with.
Okay.
So you have a black line, a white line, a brown line, and a silver line, I think. And each of the lines scores depending where it is on your railway. Mm-hmm. And it also scores backwards. So you have to like know where it is and how you score it backwards retroactively. Mm-hmm. With every single one, and each one scores differently depending on what line you're on, depending on what bonuses you've unlocked, depending on what color the thing is, depending on there's a lot of scoring in here. Like your first round, you'll score 10 points, and then later you can score 180 points in a round, mm-hmm. which you'll love because you love high scoring games, and this game gives you so many points. Yeah. But the rulebook is really clear explaining how the scoring works, which could easily have been messed up and really convoluted, and like you would just not have understood how scoring worked, which is the most important part of a Euro game, is how do you score points. Yeah. But the game makes it incredibly clear and helps you understand. It gives you a good visualization too, because you only get one piece of railway, so it's not like you get to put a black track down in every spot so you see what your black line is. It visually shows you like, here's your black line, here's this backwards arrow showing you all this is going to score, here's your brown line, your brown track on the same line, this is how far back this is going to score. Like it's very, very clear. It's a really great game.
First Martians rulebook. We got Omar says, I've heard that First Martians is one of the worst rulebooks.
First Martians?
Mm-hmm.
When I was doing some research too, I saw Robinson Crusoe the first edition has a lot of flack of being a really bad rulebook.
I want to see this rulebook. Let me see here.
Yeah, same.
About this.
I heard about this. No, the box cover made me remember this. Yeah, I remember people getting really really hyped for this game for a while, and then they saw the rule book and they're like, "Oh my god!" Well, it's built off of the cores of Robinson Crusoe, so that makes sense.
Let's see. Mine doesn't want to download. Come on. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's see. I'm curious. No, it's a play. Oh god. Jeez,
yeah, the
board anatomy thing.
The second highest file on the BGG page for it, with 130 upvotes, is the First Martians unofficial manual rewrite.
It's the worst.
No, it's not one of the highest voted, like a thumbs up thing. It's an unofficial rewrite of the manual because of how bad the actual one is.
I wonder if I'm looking at the rewrite. No, First Mars Ventures on the Red Planet. I don't know.
Official FAQ. Version 1 player aid. Oh man.
Oh god. I have a feeling this is the rewrite because there's some examples in this and functions.
If Omar's still watching right now, is it just like the rule book itself is bad, or do the rules just themselves don't make sense? Because that could be a big thing too. If the rules themselves don't make sense, then that's awful. But if it's just the rule book is really, really bad at presenting the rules, then that's a big issue too.
There is also frequently asked questions.
Mm-hmm.
There was rule book, so I wonder if I'm looking at the rewrite. I don't know if Amar's still on.
Oh god, yeah. There's not. I mean, I feel like this is one of those things where you have to read the rule book to really understand why it's confusing, because it might be one of those because the formatting looks fine. Like it might just be one of those things where it's like while you're reading, you're like, wait, this doesn't make sense, or maybe it contradicted something else. Mm-hmm. But I think if I'm right, this said it was Portal Games.
Okay.
And Portal Games is Polish, so there might also been just a translation issue. I'm wondering that too. Like, I wonder if the rule book in the native language makes sense, and then the translation's poor. Because I have Predaporter and played it from the rule book, and there were some problems with the rule book, but I think that was mostly a translation issue, not a formatting issue.
Huh. Yeah, Omar says both, I think. The Shut Up and Sit Down guys made a good video in it, and even they had trouble learning the game. Oh boy.
Cool.
that's always good in a rule book, right?
That's pretty bad if like one of the top things commented or like thumbed up on your board game page on BGG is a rewrite.
I know, right?
You know that's an issue.
Uh-huh.
Like making a player aid is fine because there's some player aids that are just better.
Yeah. But
a whole rewrite of the rules, it's pretty heavy. You should have done better.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Jeez Louise.
But yeah, I think that was it. The only other things I was thinking about too, which I'm not going to go into, but I wrote down Keyflower because Keyflower's rulebook is super dense with not enough examples. I think just all of is it RNG? R and G games or whatever has the chameleon as a logo. They do all of like the key games.
Okay.
And Hutch, I think, produces those too. But like all the key game rulebooks, I really didn't like. I don't like the rulebooks. And then Splotter, I love you, Splotter. I love Splotter, but man, some of the rules are so dense with not enough visual examples. Like the Antiquity rulebook, it gives you all the examples in the front of the book before you even know how to play the game.
That doesn't make sense.
No, like it shows you like this is how movement works, and this is not movement. This shows you where you can place things depending on where your city is, and depending if you have a harbor out or not. You're like, I don't even know what my city is yet. And then same thing with Roads and Boats. Roads and Boats rulebook is a nightmare to get through because there's so many. Like the whole game is logistics and like converting goods and resources into things, and it's a lot.
Well, when we eventually design our games, we're gonna have to do really good rule books and a video.
My rulebook's gonna be a flip book. That's all pictures.
Just no words, not a single word.
You have to flip books, a 1,000 note card flip book.
Just a bunch of arrow, like a single arrow.
Yep.
Each and every type of move you want to do.
It's gonna look awful.
The box, like, it's gonna be able to come in one of like the red outpost box. It's rather small, but the box is actually like the size of the Super Fantasy Brawl one because of the book is so massive.
That would be nuts.
Well, great.
Cool.
Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in again this week, and Omar, thank you for joining in the comments.
Yeah, thanks, Omar.
Yeah. This was kind of our first live. We just wanted to test it out. We're at least figured out that it can work. So at least we're not testing this out on Sunday morning as we're trying to play. So, but
yeah.
Stay tuned for that Sunday morning. What do we say? 9 a.m. Central Time. We'll be playing Kanban EV. Got to go and learn those rules.
Yeah, which they just did a new Kickstarter update about an hour ago. So
okay, I gotta check.
I think everything is shipped at this point to the distribution centers. So hopefully we get Kanban by Christmas, which would be great.
That would be cool.
Yep.
Yeah, because that means I would also be getting
everything Lacerda.
Yeah, everything Lacerda. Gallerist. Nope.
Gallerist.
Yes, Gallerist. Was
cool.
The one that I bought with it. So.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks for joining me, Keegan. Again, let's just sit here in silence for a moment.
And do what for a moment?
Sit in silence.
Just those creepy YouTube videos where people just sit and stare at the camera for an hour and don't talk.
No.
And people cry watching them for some reason. I don't.
Okay.
It's a thing.
We're gonna stop streaming here.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.